Hi, I'm Lance Clymer. I own Timberline Log Exteriors. I've been manufacturing log siding, log corners, and installing for the last 30 years. I want to teach you in this video some different techniques for installing the log siding, different butt joints, things that make it look like a real log home, okay? If your log siding comes loose, you can always put a few more screws in it, okay? If it looks like crap, there's not much you can do about it, okay? Let's get started on this. I've had a few changes in weather, so I've had to kind of cut this video a few times, but I appreciate you watching, and subscribe, like, enjoy. Hi, I'm back to show you how to attach your log siding, whether it be with nails, screws, or whatever. I don't know of anything else. But anyway, I've had a little bit of a change of plans. I've had to move things inside. We got quite a bit of snow in last night, and I'm right between Cheyenne and Denver. So we get our weather patterns in here. But I'm in where it's warm, next to this 1911 Homer stove. Takes a lot of wood, but it puts out a lot of heat, and it's comfortable in here, and I prefer to do it that way. So we'll get back outside and show you how to do corners, inside corners, outside corners, how to do your windows, different types of trim, you know, what they look like, and we've got a lot more to show you. So let's get started on the attachment. Okay, let's show you some of your different options. We'll start out with a good old-fashioned casement nail, 16 penny, galvanized. It's got a small head on it, so it's not too obtrusive. These are galvanized ring shank nails for an air gun. Okay, these won't be long enough. I didn't have any 16 penny. I believe those are about an 8 or a 12, but a 16 penny, this is a framing nail. I would not use these because they will rust, okay? You do not want anything that rusts, otherwise it'll streak and run down the log siding. Okay, let's get to the newer ones. What we have here is, this is a T10 head. It's zinc plated or some type of plating, so it won't rust, won't get any staining to the wood. That was a 4-inch, and these are what we're going to be using. Same way, small head, and they're also plated, and they're 3 inches. So we've also got, this is what's called a bugle head, okay? I don't think you want to use these. It makes too large of an attachment point, and it'll crush into the wood and really expose where it's attached. And we want it to look like there's been very little attachment to it. We'll also get into showing you what a blind nail is all about and how you do that. That's a technique rather than the type of attachment. So we'll get on from there. Let's get to shooting. Let's work on attachment. We're going to start out with showing you blind nailing, blind screwing. I think it's the best looking. There's debate on whether or not it's the best way to do it. I found over the years that we've had problems, but I just recently came to some conclusions that maybe it was more technique than the idea of being able to hide your nails and screws. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what the technique is, what I'm talking about. Basically, the idea is on blind nailing, blind screwing, is that you don't see the attachment. But you do that by going in where the next board will go over the top of that. We're still countersinking them, countersinking the screws just a little bit, not quite as much as you would if you were face nailing. This is tongue and groove. Excuse me. This is tongue and channel shiplap, and it could pull out. It's going to take some screws in right around in here to hold it in place. If it was tongue and groove, there's a groove there, I'd still want to see occasionally some screws just to hold it back in there in case that tongue or the groove split. The conclusion I came to on why these were splitting, we're talking people putting them on back in the day. It could have been 1940s to 1980s, 1990s, is they were using a hammer. Where did I put my hammer? There it is. So you're pounding it in, what do? You break that tongue. I saw multiple jobs to where the tongue was broken, the siding was hanging off. That is what got me away from doing any type of blind nailing. I think it was more technique. So I think with screws, I don't see a problem with that. We've got an extremely good attachment here. I would want to put some screws in, just like that, bit of an angle up on the bottom, angle down on the top. I don't know if you really need to hit every one of them. You may have to because of your building department. You'd probably have to talk to your inspector about it. I love this. Put the next piece on. There you go. The attachment is really not the problem. That little hole doesn't make any difference. What makes a difference is the pattern going all the way up. Every 16 inches, you got a pattern. That really shows up. The nails, they're going to look like this. If you do more of a random pattern, they're going to look like little knots. And that's the whole trick, is just keep it random. So, we'll get another piece on there. Make sure you don't go in too deep. This is a 1/2 inch thick. I came to the conclusion before it was because of expansion and contraction in this thin area that that was a reason we saw siding coming off. But I really think it was from hammering, coming in and trying to countersink that down and breaking this tongue. And it would be the same way if you were using an air gun. Use an air gun, you shoot in there, you get your depth set a little too deep, it would still break this off on occasion. Not all the time, but it's going to break it off. So you're going to come back in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to get worse, you're going to have some siding dropping off. That's why I did it very seldom in my career. All the manufacturers recommend face nailing here and here, here, all the way down the house. But if you really think about it, they're not the ones that have to look at it. Okay, that is blind nailing, blind screwing, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't use an air gun. I would not use a hammer. Let's only put screws in there. If you want to air gun these, that's up to you. Okay? Okay, we're going to start out with my least favorite, which is a casement nail. And hand nail this. That's why I don't like them. A little bit of an elephant track. You'll have a lot more of them on there To really make them look correctly, you'll have to go back in and countersink them a little bit. Like I said, it's not my favorite, but if you're in a position to where you have to hand nail them, this is the type of nail that you would want to use. What we have here is one of the original Hitachi air guns. Get that off, it makes a lot of noise. Need a compressor with this, run about 100 PSI. You might have to adjust it, but they work extremely fast. They work extremely well. I like them for framing, but for sighting, we've pretty well gone to screws. But let's see what it looks like. Little oil in there, but you're always going to have oil. Notice that I was shooting at an angle down and an angle up, kind of created a cross pattern with the attachment. Makes it a lot harder for anything to come loose. Let me wipe that off, get a rag, get it cleaned up a little bit, try to get that oil off of there before it soaks. That's a little better. You'll lose all that when you stain the log siding, but you see how it's countersunk just a little bit. Little note here, you've got the galvanizing, that's really going to show up. What I used to do is I would take my nails and stick them down into a piece of cardboard and take spray paint, just like brown primer, and prime the outside the heads that you see, and you would lose this. This is what looks terrible, say in the evening or in the morning on that side of the house. Sun hits those, all you see is a whole bunch of what look like stars on the wall. You'll get that shine back. So to take care of that, we just spray a little bit of paint on there, and it would take care of it, and then the stain would take care of the rest. What we're going to use next is the small-headed screws. These are actually used for decks on composite plastic decks. Make a lot of different types. Some of them have reversing threads at the top. I don't know if they work any better, but one of the things you'll notice on these when you go in, we want to go about, it'll have a tendency to push the board away. Back the screw out just a little bit and then put it back in and it'll stay tight. I'm coming down about a third the distance, up about a third, maybe a little bit off, but I'm also angling, so there's two different angles in there. That will hold a heck of a lot better, because all you have to do is try to tear one off, and you'll find out they really hold well. Go. This is what I prefer. I think it holds better. It is a lot slower. I shouldn't say a lot, but it is slower than using an air gun. But it's a heck of a lot faster. You don't have elephant tracks like I left there, which will get worse. Whatever you do, if you have to hand nail, do not use a waffle-headed hammer, okay, like a framing hammer. It's bad enough when you miss and you leave marks, and you always will, but you have a waffle on there, it's just very obtrusive.